Hello and welcome back to the deep dive. Typically on this show, we're tackling the heavy hitters. We're looking at macroeconomic trends, dissecting geopolitical alliances, the intricacies of supply chain logistics. We like complex
We
systems.
do. We live for the complex systems.
But today, we are pivoting hard. We are looking at a source that, if you just glanced at the cover, you might just dismiss it. You'd think it's a children's bedtime story.
Right.
But, and this is a big but, if you actually scratch the surface, if you really look at the mechanics and what's happening here, it is surprisingly sophisticated.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a manual on crisis management, fluid dynamics, and the psychology of boundaries.
It really is.
Yeah.
We're looking at a narrative case study. It's titled Bibble the Bubble-Dragon, A Tale of Science and Suds. And I have to admit, when I first opened the file you sent, I was a little skeptical. I thought, okay, are we really analyzing a 6-year-old's bath time?
I know. It sounds ridiculous.
But then I started reading the methodology, specifically how the characters handle a containment breach in a closed ecosystem. And I realized, wait a minute, this is genuinely insightful. It's a masterclass in applying, first principles thinking to a chaotic environment.
That is exactly what hooked me. So here's our mission for this deep dive. We are not just going to recap a cute story. We're going to unpack the specific event, the triple splash spin that caused the chaos. We're going to analyze the physics, and then we're going to tear apart the scientific methodology used to restore order. Because, frankly, the way they solve this is better than how some major corporations handle their PR crises.
Oh, absolutely. It's cleaner, deeper, and it's effective.
So let's set the stage. Before the chaos, before the dragon, what does the baseline look like? The source material paints a picture of the bathroom of Tilly Tinkerbop. And it's a very standard, stable ecosystem.
Right. In systems theory, we'd call this homeostasis. Everything is predictable. You have the rubber duck army in formation on the ledge.
The shampoo crown?
The shampoo crown. It's standard operating procedure for a 6-year-old's nightly routine.
It's the controlled environment. But then the variables shift. And the text is very specific about the catalyst. It wasn't just playing in the bath. It was a specific combination of, chemical excess and kinetic energy.
It's always the variables you don't account for. The text says Tilly introduces an excessive amount of bubble solution. So, chemically, she has supersaturated the water with surfactants. She's lowered the surface tension of the water significantly before she even starts moving.
And then comes the movement, the triple splash spin.
The triple splash spin. Now, let's break down the physics of what the text is describing here.
Yeah.
Tilly isn't just splashing. She is executing a high-velocity rotational move. She is essentially acting as a centrifuge.
She's mixing air and soap at incredible speeds.
Exactly. She's introducing massive amounts of air into this liquid environment at high velocity. And when you do that, you get structure. You get foam formation on a massive scale. And the result is an anomaly. The source material describes the sudden rise of Bibble.
The Bubble-Dragon. And I have to say, the description of this anomaly is just delightful. We aren't talking about some shapeless blob of suds. The text specifies foam wings, a tail made of shampoo, and my absolute favorite detail, a belly that boasts tiny glittery hiccups.
That detail stood out to me too, but for a different reason. Glittery hiccups implies a chemical reaction, doesn't it? It suggests there's internal pressure being released. It's not just a static sculpture. It's an active, volatile entity.
See, I just thought it was magic, but you're going straight to the thermodynamics.
Well, the text actually grounds this in science. It defines a bubble very clearly. Air trapped inside the thin layer of soap and water. That's the physical reality. But then the text pivots to the sort of metaphysics of the story. It says foam can trap heat, it can trap sound, and if the imagination is potent enough, it traps little creatures.
So Bibble is a hybrid entity. Structurally, he is a lattice of soap film and trapped air. But ontologically, he is a projection of Tilly's imagination. He's a thought form made of soap.
Precisely. And that dual nature is what makes him so dangerous to the bathroom ecosystem. Because he has the physical properties of foam, he expands, he's slippery, he's light, but he has the agency of a chaotic toddler. He's not just sitting there. He's taking action.
Let's talk about that agency, because this is where the case study element really kicks in. This isn't a passive situation. Bibble creates what the source calls bubblehead chaos.
It's a rapid escalation. We go from creation to destruction in seconds. The profile given for Bibble is adorable but lacking impulse control.
Which is a dangerous combination. That's the profile of every puppy, toddler, and startup founder I've ever met.
The most dangerous profile. And look at the behavior.
Yeah.
He starts dismantling the infrastructure. He knocks over soap bottles. Think about that. If you knock over soap bottles, you're introducing more slippery agents into the environment. You're feeding the entropy.
It's a feedback loop.
Exactly. And then he sneezes. And the text says, the sneeze fills the sink with foam. This is exponential growth. He's replicating the foam structure essentially by breathing. He is colonizing the space.
And then the hygiene violation. He turns the toothbrush into a bubble wand.
That's a total breach of sanitary protocol.
Oh.
I mean, once the oral hygiene tools are compromised, you know you've lost control.
A serious violation. But the real crisis, the thing that moves this from a mess to a standoff, is the territorial dispute. Bibble refuses to go back to the tub.
This is a classic invasive species scenario. He declares the sink is his castle. He's claiming territory outside his designated zone. And when Tilly pushes back, he relocates to the toilet tank, dubbing it his bubble throne.
The throne. I mean, it's funny, but think about the power dynamic. The invasive species has seized the high ground. He holds the water supply.
He's occupied a critical piece of infrastructure. The toilet tank is a reservoir. If he compromises that, you have a plumbing issue on top of a foam issue.
And Tilly's reaction is fascinating because it mirrors how we often try to deal with irrational actors in the real world. Whether it's a difficult client or, a toddler, she tries to negotiate.
She uses logic. She tries to reason with the dragon. Then she tries bribery. The text says she offers him bath crayons.
Which is the bathtub currency. That's like offering stock options.
But it fails. And it's important to understand why it fails.
Right.
The text touches on this.
Yeah.
You cannot negotiate with entropy. Bibble is in a state of pure expansion. He doesn't want crayons. He wants to consume space. He wants to bubble over everything. The source makes a profound point here. Even fun things can become overwhelming without control.
That's the takeaway right there. Unchecked expansion, even if something positive like fun or creativity, eventually becomes destructive.
It becomes a cancer to the system. The sink is full. The toilet is occupied. The toothbrush is compromised. The system is failing. Tilly is overwhelmed because her standard tools, bribery and singing, are designed for a rational actor, not a force of nature.
Enter the consultant. I love Max. He's the big brother. But the text frames him as this high-level expert who walks in and he's wearing swimming goggles.
That is such a great visual cue. It signals a shift in the operating mode. We are no longer in play mode. We are in lab mode. He's protected his eyes. He's ready to inspect the hazardous material.
It's serious business now. So Max observes the subject, Bibble, and he gives a diagnosis. He doesn't say Bibble is being bad. He says Bibble is stuck in bubble zoom mode.
Defined as too much bubble energy. It's a high-energy state, high-frequency erratic movement. Now, a novice, someone who doesn't understand the material science, might look at that and say, pop the bubbles, destroy the dragon.
Right, use force, get a towel and just smash it. Or turn on the cold shower and blast him.
But Max knows that violent disruption creates a mess.
Yeah.
If you smash a giant foam dragon, you just get soap everywhere. You create a slick, dangerous floor. It's not a solution. It's a dispersion of the problem. You haven't solved it. You've just spread it out.
So what does he propose?
He proposes a regulated de-escalation. He says, we need to pop his energy gently with science. And they build the bubble calmer machine.
This machine is the centerpiece of the deep dive for me. It's a Rube Goldberg device, but every component illustrates a principle of material science or psychology. Let's walk through it. First up, the towel tunnel.
Okay, so the function here is absorption and friction. Foam is essentially a liquid skeleton trapping gas. If you introduce a porous material like a terry cloth towel, you are using capillary action. The towel wants the water more than the soap does.
You're dehydrating the dragon?
Gently. You're pulling the moisture out of the film. This reduces the structural integrity of the bubbles without a violent pop. It acts as a buffer zone. It slows him down physically because he has to squeeze through, and it dries him out slightly, making him less volatile.
Okay, so he passes through the tunnel and hits in component 2, the lukewarm water slide. Now, this is specific. Why lukewarm? Why not cold? Why not hot?
This is where the text gets into real physics. It explicitly notes that warm water helps reduce surface tension.
Can we define surface tension for the listener who hasn't been in a physics class for a while?
Sure. Imagine the surface of water is like a stretched elastic skin. That skin is what holds a bubble together. It's the molecules clinging to each other tightly. When you introduce heat, even just lukewarm heat, you're adding kinetic energy to those molecules. They start moving faster, they vibrate.
They loosen their grip.
Exactly. The skin relaxes. By using lukewarm water, Max is chemically signaling the bubble structure to relax. If you use cold water, it might shock the system. If you used boiling water, the bubbles would burst instantly. Lukewarm is the Goldilocks zone for molecular de-escalation.
It's amazing. The slide isn't just a ride, it's a dissolving mechanism disguised as play. It's tricking the dragon into calming down.
It's brilliant engineering. You're using the environment to modulate the behavior of the material.
And then the final component, the soft sponge jazz.
The auditory variable.
Now, does the source actually claim that jazz pops bubbles?
Not directly. But within the logic of the case study, it serves an environmental purpose. If the diagnosis is zoom mode, which implies high-frequency sharp movements, the EVNA, then you need to introduce a counter-frequency. Smooth jazz is low-frequency, rhythmic, predictable.
It's entrainment. You're trying to sink the dragon's energy down to the music's level.
It's holistic. Think about it. You have the towel handling the liquid matter. You have the water for molecular tension. And you have the jazz for the atmospheric vibe. It tackles the problem on 3 dimensions simultaneously. Physical, chemical, and, well, psychological.
And the result is immediate. The text says once Bibble zoomed through the machine, the effect was instantaneous. He lets out a squeaky yawn.
Release of energy. The pressure is gone.
And I love the diplomatic resolution. Bibble says, "Good night, Princess of Puddles." And then, this is the best line in the whole document. He says, "Tell your duck army I said quack."
He recognizes the sovereignty of the existing power structure.
He does. It's a formal concession of defeat. He's acknowledging the ducks were there first.
But notice, he isn't destroyed. This is the key part of the solution. He curls up in a bubble nest inside the tub.
Right. This is crucial. They didn't eradicate the anomaly. They contained it. They returned the invasive species to its designated habitat.
Which is the goal of any good crisis management. You usually can't make the problem vanish, but you can put it in a box where it can't hurt anyone. If they had popped him completely, Tilly would have been upset. The magic would be gone. By putting him in the tub, they preserve the fun, but remove the danger.
So the bathroom is saved, but the source doesn't end there. And this is why I think this text is actually a manual for life. It ends with the aftermath and the new protocol.
The bathroom rules chart.
Because if you don't codify the lesson, you're just waiting for the next dragon. If you don't write down the fix, you're doomed to repeat the crisis. Tilly implements 3 rules, and I want to go through them because they map perfectly to adult problems.
Let's do it.
Rule number 1, no bubble beasts after bedtime.
That is a temporal boundary. It's an acknowledgement that different modes of operation require different mindsets. You cannot be in creative chaos mode when the system needs to shut down for maintenance, aka sleep.
It's about operational hours. You can't run a Zoom mode project when resources are depleted.
Exactly. It sets a hard stop. Creativity is allowed, but it has a curfew.
Rule number 2, always use science when things go squishy.
I love that phrase, when things go squishy.
It's so evocative.
It is. It represents ambiguity. When you don't know what's happening, when the situation is slippery and undefined, that's squishy. And the rule says, don't panic. Revert to methodology. Observe. Hypothesize. Experiment.
Max didn't scream at the dragon. He observed Zoom mode and built a machine. That's the lesson. When you're in a crisis, don't get emotional, get analytical.
It's the application of logic to emotion. It's the only way to solve a squishy problem without making a bigger mess.
And finally, rule 3. And this one is my favorite because it's so weirdly specific. Bibble gets the purple towel. Always.
That is the standard operating procedure.
But why a specific towel? Why does it matter that it's purple?
Because consistency creates safety. If Bibble knows the purple towel is his, he doesn't need to fight for the sink, doesn't need to fight for the toilet. He has a designated asset in the economy.
It's a peace offering. It's a demarcation of territory. This is your space. The rest is mine.
And it's a constraint. You get the purple towel, but you only get the purple towel. It limits the scope of the chaos to one specific square of fabric. It's resource allocation.
So, taking a step back, the source material summarizes this whole experience with a single lesson. Magical creatures need boundaries and balance.
It flips the script on creativity. We usually think imagination needs total freedom. Think outside the box, break the rules. But this case study argues that without the box, without the purple towel and the bedtime, the imagination destroys the environment.
The structure protects the magic.
Exactly. If Tilly hadn't contained Bibble, her parents would have come in and banned bubbles forever.
Right. The total shutdown, the regulatory crackdown.
By creating rules, she ensures she gets to keep playing. The bureaucracy actually enables the fun. If you can prove you can control the dragon, you get to keep the dragon.
That is a counterintuitive insight. We usually see rules as the enemy of fun, but here, rules are the preservation of fun.
It's the trellis that allows the vine to grow. Without the trellis, the vine is just a tangle on the ground.
Beautifully put. Now, before we wrap up, the source material offers a challenge to the listener. It's an interactive ending.
Yes, the create your own creature prompt.
Babel pokes his head out of the tub and asks, what kind of bubble creature would you create? And the examples are things like a foam flamingo or a shampoo shark. But, and this is the key, you can't just draw it.
No, you have to write its 3 silly rules.
Why do you think the text insists on the rules? Why not just let the kid draw the shark?
Because drawing the shark is easy. Managing the shark is the skill. The text is forcing the reader to practice the equation it just taught us. Science plus imagination.
So if I create a shampoo shark, I have to decide, does it eat soap? Does it need to sleep in the shower caddy?
By defining the rules, you make the creature real in the system. You're doing the work of an ecosystem manager. You're asking, how does this new variable fit into my existing world? If you say it's a shark that eats towels, now you have a laundry problem. You have to solve for that.
It turns a passive creative act into an active design challenge. You're designing the creature's lifestyle, not just its look.
Exactly. And that's the prompt we should leave you with today.
We all have bubble beasts in our lives. Maybe it's a new hobby that's taking over the garage. Maybe it's a project at work that keeps expanding its scope. Classic scope creep.
Or a schedule that's permanently in bubble zoom mode.
Right. We all know that feeling, the feeling of too much energy, not enough container. So the question is, what are the 3 rules for your beast?
Does it need a bedtime? Does it need a strict time limit so it doesn't bleed into your rest?
Does it need a purple towel? A specific physical space where it's allowed to be messy so it doesn't mess up the rest of your life. Maybe your hobby stays on one desk.
And finally, can you apply a little lukewarm water? Can you lower the tension with a bit of science or logic rather than just getting frustrated?
Because as we learned from Tilly, you don't want to destroy the magic. You don't want to kill the project or quit the hobby. You just want to keep it out of the toilet.
That's the goal. Keep the magic, save the plumbing.
I think that's a motto we can all live by. Keep the magic, save the plumbing. It applies to software development, to parenting, and it applies to bubble dragons.
Words to live by.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the surprisingly complex world of bathtub physics. We hope you look at your soap bubbles and your boundaries a little differently tonight.
And watch out for the triple splash spin.
We'll see you next time.
Stay curious.